Hey there, race fans. It's Race Day Top 5 with me, Frank 5. The NASCAR season's officially underway, sorta, with the inaugural event that everybody's been anticipating the offseason, the Busch Light Clash at the LA Memorial Coliseum. What a weekend it was. I mean, the entire spectacle of having a little quarter-mile track inside a football stadium, packing all these brand new cars in for practice and qualifying these heat races in the main event. It was a phenomenal weekend. It was a great start to the season and a great attendance and a lot of events happening. Let's get into all that happened as well as the racing product at the LA Coliseum. Number one, Joey Logano, who had one NASCAR Cup Series victory last year at the inaugural Bristol Dirt Race, captures the first checkered flag of the 2022 NASCAR Cup Series season, being victorious at the Busch Light Clash at the Coliseum over Kyle Busch, Austin Dillon, Eric Jones, and reigning NASCAR Cup Series champion Kyle Larson. I'll tell you what, I'm very impressed with what Joey Logano was able to put together to win this race. I saw him in the practice charts, and he was way down. I mean, he was in the low 20s, and they didn't have a lot of speed, but they went to work for qualifying, and they qualified in the top four, which allowed them to start first place for their heat race, and they were able to capture the win in their heat. And when the green flag dropped for the race, he was flying to the front. He had a good long run car and kept up with Kyle Busch for the majority of the event. And then when they stopped the race at the halfway point, we restarted it, and Logano kept close with Kyle Busch, and then he got the lead on one of the cautions when Kyle Larson pinned Justin Haley to the inside wall. Logano was ahead of Kyle Busch at the right time, and Logano was able to hold off on that last restart and was able to hold back Kyle Busch, who tried to put a couple of challenges to Logano, but he kept locking up his tire, which kind of hurt him and kind of killed his momentum. The 22 car just absolutely nailed it, and they captured the first win of the season in a ways, and obviously the first win at the new LA Coliseum event for NASCAR. And he really applauded NASCAR for putting all this together, and he had a good race car. Of course, last year he had a pretty decent season. It wasn't the best season with only one win to his season last year, but he and Paul Wolf, his crew chief, did a good job, and I feel like they're going to do even better this season with their 22 team. And now they're going to look to try to go get their second Harley J. Earl Trophy in the 22 camp at Daytona a week from this upcoming Sunday. So nice start to the season for the 22 team, and let's see where they go from here. Number two, the heat races. These races set the starting lineup. Now, we had 36 charter teams entered for this event. However, not everybody could race. So we had heat races and last chance qualifier races. And they were interesting to say the least. So the first heat race featured Kyle Busch, which he ultimately won, and we had a couple notables get in, including Ryan Blaney, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Then in heat race number two, Tyler Reddick, who had a very good car the entire weekend. He drove from the middle of the pack on the start to go up front and win his heat race. He had a really good car in the main event in the Busch Clash. He led a lot of laps, but ultimately the car broke. Apparently it was the trans axle, which is new with this next-gen car this year. He had it fall apart and retired from the race. He was able to transfer to the main event by winning his heat with Chase Briscoe, who also had a very good race car, but had the same problem in the main event like Reddick did. Then in heat three, Justin Haley for the new colleague team showed a lot of pace and was able to capture his heat victory. And of course, he was in the main event ranked top 5 until he got hit late by Kyle Larson in the inside concrete wall, taking him out of it. But they showed they were there, and they're going to be in business this year as a new team in the Cup Series full-time. And the final heat obviously was won by Joey Logano. He got in the first 4 spots, as well as Kyle Larson, defending champion, and the Daytona 500 winner from last year, Michael McDowell, who looked to defend his 500 title on the 20th of February. So there's a lot of big guys that were able to make it. Chase Elliott was able to get in. As mentioned, Ryan Blaney. Eric Jones got in. Austin Dillon got in. A lot of big names got in. A lot of surprises too. But then we had the last chance qualifier races. Now, one driver did not take part in his last chance qualifier, and that was Martin Truex Jr., because the rule is if you are the highest driver in points for this event and you didn't transfer to the main event and you have the highest provisional out of anybody that had to go to the last chance qualifier, you can decide not to run your race and elect to run the main event, which Truex did, and I think he did a good idea for it, because the first last chance qualifier, Denny Hamlin won it and got into the next round along with Kevin Harvick and AJ Allmendinger in the other colleague car. And the last chance qualifier race number 2, oh my goodness gracious, that thing was a demolition derby. I mean, bumping and banging every single corner, every single lap, and literally, I counted 5 cautions in those final few laps, and caution laps didn't count for any of these events that we had. I mean, there was the 2311 guys were in the position to make it in, and they got bumped out of the way when somebody made it 3 wide in the late stages of the race, and Kurt Busch went to the wall, knocking him out of the race. We saw Eric Almirola get taken out in his last chance qualifier, and he was not able to compete in the Clash for what is his final season. We had a lot of other guys that got turned around. Austin Cindric, Alex Bowman didn't make it in. Brad Keselowski with his new Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing team did not make it. But the guys that were able to get in from the last chance qualifier, number 2, were Ryan Preece. Now, originally, Ty Dillon won it. But a similar issue to what happened in the early part of that race, he jumped the restart, and therefore NASCAR disqualified him and did not allow him to make it to the main event. So Preece got in, Bubba Wallace made it in, and the guy that benefited from the Ty Dillon disqualification was Harrison Burton. He made it in to the main event. So those last chance qualifier races were more crazy let's say they were crazier than than the heat races before that. That was wild, but just shows you the durability of these next-gen cars for the most part. Number 3, the next-gen cars in general. How did they race? This was the first time we were running these cars with these new composite bodies, and I gotta say, these things look very durable. But ultimately, when a guy hits the outside wall really hard by the left rear, right rear, you're more than likely gonna get knocked out and damage your vehicle. But these cars, like when I saw these guys getting into the door, getting into the rear corner panels, into the rear bumpers, these things are durable. You could hardly see a dent at all. It just shows you how tough these composite bodies are for these NASCAR Cup cars, which is one of the reasons why in the Xfinity Series, if you hit the outside wall relatively hard, but not too hard to knock you out of the race, you can bend out the fenders and you can get back out there and still run pretty competitively. We saw it with these next-gen cars. I mean, they were very durable, but obviously there was a lot of mechanical parts with these guys. Denny Hamlin, who got into the main event, had apparently power steering problem, which you see that, but he said you're going to have a lot of problems with these as we get used to these new cars, which I agree. There's a lot of mechanical gremlins we're going to have to work with, but these mechanics will figure it out. As mentioned, the transaxle or the drive shaft or drive line on the 8 car and the 14 in the main event knocked them out. Ryan Preece had the same problem. Ryan Blaney, who got wrecked late by Eric Jones, he got knocked out with transaxle, but he was able to fix it and get back in the race, even though he was multiple laps down. But these next-gen cars do really show they're durable when they race hard, but unfortunately, when they hit the inside wall, concrete wall, or outside safer barrier, they're more than likely going to take more significant damage than just a guy bumping into the back of them and these slow speeds and these short, very tight corners. So that, as well as the mechanical gremlins, is something that they're going to have to work with this year. But I like what I saw from the next-gen car, and I know there's a lot of people going to say in the final event that when Joey Logano got to the lead and held it there, Kyle Busch wasn't able to catch him. And they say clean air, dirty air. You're going to hear a lot of that. It's still going to be the same thing even with the other car. We're still going to have clean air. We're still going to have guys complain about dirty air. That's racing for you, folks. But I like what I saw from the next-gen car. We'll see it at another short track race this year. Obviously, Bristol, Martinsville, Richmond, they'll be fun to watch. And now we're going to see in just about a week and a half how these things fare on the super speedways. Is going to be very, very interesting. Number 4, the events at the Clash were crazy. And not just the racing, but with the fans. I mean, I watched the opening heat races, and there were some people in the grandstands, but it got packed for the main event, which is what people came. I mean, again, 70% of the fans that came to this event are brand new to NASCAR. That's why the reason that NASCAR wanted to come to this event was to try to help attract more fans, especially no better place to do that in LA and help the sports market out there. It was just amazing. We had a pre-race concert with one of the team owners of NASCAR, Pitbull. He owns Trackhouse Racing. He sang his song "Don't Stop the Party," and that song I think he sings with the rapper Neo. I don't know, but not a big Pitbull fan, but he had a pretty good time pumping up the crowd. And then we stopped the main event in the middle of the race at halfway for Ice Cube to come out and put on his rap show, and he did a good job. And the Grand Marshals, you had a select cast of stars. Of course, the biggest one of them all was Jeff Gordon, who now is the chairman for Hendrick Motorsports. He lit the torch at the Coliseum and gave the command with other notables. Of course, Hall of Fame running back Eric Dickerson, one of the greatest running backs to ever play the game. You had Reggie Bush, who was a good running back for the time for the USC Trojans, and of course, Super Bowl champ with the New Orleans Saints. You had Matt Leinart, former USC Trojan quarterback, had a couple Olympians come out there. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was supposed to be there. Unfortunately, health reasons kept him from attending, so that was unfortunate. But a good cast of celebrities to help get the command. That was a lot of fun. I mean, the celebrities, Blake Shelton appeared at one point during the broadcast in the Fox booth and had a couple chuckles, talked about some beer drinking. He's a lot of fun. He's a great country singer. It's good to see all the celebrities out and about at this event, and hopefully we've attracted more fans to NASCAR thanks to this event. And I just want to commend NASCAR in general for putting this all together. And number 5, the broadcast of the race. This is the first broadcast of the year for Fox, where we had Mike Joy and Clint Boyer, and for this event and for the Daytona 500, Tony Stewart broadcast. I felt like the chemistry was really good between these guys. Tony is very insightful, very knowledgeable, and very funny. And of course, Clint Boyer's Clint Boyer. It also showed his insight. It's good to hear the legend Mike Joy. Chris Myers on the broadcast, Larry Mack, Jamie McMurray. Jeff Gordon even briefly appeared during the pre-race leading up to the main event. Which was good to hear him talk again. He's starting to become Rick Hendrick with the jacket, the button down, and kind of growing his hair long. It's kind of nice to see kind of a new phase of Jeff Gordon's career. Michael Waltrip's talking with the drivers in the middle of the heat races. He had Shannon Spake at the mini red carpet, Adam Alexander. Again, everybody just came together, did a good job. Larry Mack going around talking to the crew chiefs was a lot of fun. Regan Smith and JB Little on the also talking to the crew chiefs or down in the main mini pit that they had. That was a lot of fun. One thing that I noticed from Fox broadcast, they kind of had a little bit of gremlins, which, the broadcast kind of stopped for a brief second, and they had problems with their microphones. And obviously, it's the first race of the year. They're going to work out their issues, and they're going to be able to move forward and carry that and make it better as the season goes on. But I felt like that the whole broadcast in general, they just did a really good job, and I'm looking forward to hearing them all again when we go down to Daytona for the Great American Race of February the 20th. So, in conclusion, I thought this Busch Clash was a lot of fun. I really liked the racing product. I would have loved if we had a little bit of a closer battle for the win there at the end, if they were side by side, talking about Kyle Busch and Logano. But I felt like we did learn a lot about this car again, and we got to see these guys race on a short track, a quarter mile. Everyone wanted some short track racing. Well, we got it. And I commend NASCAR, and I want to applaud them. Thank Steve O'Donnell, Steve Phelps, everybody at Penn Kennedy, everybody that put this together. It was a phenomenal weekend for NASCAR, and I think it was a phenomenal weekend for the LA sports market with NASCAR. They hit a home run with this, I feel like. They did a really good job. Is this worth coming back to it next year? I think so. Now, Ben Kennedy hinted at the possibility that there could be a future to have the Clash here at the Coliseum. Over the years, the Clash of Daytona was a lot of fun, but it never got the hype like this event. This event brought a lot of people out to attend because we saw it with the Busch Clash of Daytona the last few years. Even though last year they had COVID protocols in place and it was on a road course, which wasn't that bad of a race. The attendance there was kind of low. I mean, up until the Daytona 500, that was a packed crowd. But for the Busch Clash, hardly anybody comes. But we bring all these fans out to this event. Fans from all over the country traveled. Obviously, all the fans in California that love sports in general, 70% of them come to this event, and they got their money's worth with good racing, good side-by-side action, beating and banging, concerts, pre-race and mid-race. I don't think you could have asked for anything more. This was just a phenomenal weekend for NASCAR, and it's a great way to kick off the new season and a new era in our sport. And just thumbs up, guys. What a great job you guys did putting this event together. Now the track's getting torn apart, and we will wait and see if we come back here next year for 2023. Now, we could rotate and send this to other short tracks, like maybe Bowman Gray Stadium in North Carolina. You could send it to Nashville Fairgrounds, unless if we somehow get a cup race there eventually, that could be out of the cards. But I felt like that this event at the Coliseum was perfect. Good job all around. The one thing I kind of was a little down on was the bumping and banging demolition derby of the last chance qualifier number 2, because they kind of went over the edge. But that's just me. I mean, if it was normal short track racing for you, then I respect your opinion. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Did you enjoy the Busch Clash at the Coliseum? Do you think they should keep it there next year? Do you think they should go different directions, different places? Or would you like to see it back at Daytona? Let me know. I'm happy to hear your opinion. But the season's officially underway in a ways, and now we'll take a week off, and then we're off to Daytona to kick off the season with Daytona Speed Weeks and the Daytona 500 on February the 20th. I can't wait for the season to finally get rolling and to see all these guys racing 3 wide at speeds at almost 190 to maybe even 200 miles an hour, depending on how fast they're going to go in a pack, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait. So subscribe, like. I hope you all enjoyed the Clash. Congrats to Joey Logano and Team Penske on winning this year's Clash. What an event. What a weekend. It was fun. Have a good day, everybody. Let's go racing.